Hi there, and thank you for checking out this week's episode of Articulate Thoughts, which is a personal blog of mine where I share some thoughts, ideas, experiences, and observations about conscious dance, which is a movement practice that uses dance as a form of moving meditation. And something that's been on my mind lately is the topic of interpreting art. And just basically been thinking a lot about this lately and just like what is it about art that's so compelling and in a lot of ways essential. There's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and like on the bottom base there's physical needs like food, water, shelter, and human interaction. And as you kind of move higher up into the hierarchy, there is more of a tendency for psychological needs, and one of them is for a creative outlet. And I think art is a part of being human. It's an essential component for being a healthy, balanced, and living to one's fullest potential. But it's also interesting on how art is interpreted, because some people look at a painting and just like, I don't get it. And another person might look at the exact same painting and just be moved and just be in complete awe and could just stare at it for hours. And it's just, they take it in a very different way. And, we're all individuals and we all have different experiences. But it's a very interesting thing in various disciplines of art, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this other concept that I've been messing around with in my head about just the trinity of metaphysical elements of sound, light, and thought. So, you know, there's these physical elements in nature. There's earth, water, fire, and air, and no one really contends that because it's a very scientifically proven, and these concepts are scientifically proven, and we use them in our everyday to day life. But there's like a higher level of these elements, sound, light, and thought, that are also part of our everyday experience, but we don't really think of it as much, or we don't think of it as much of an importance. And I think it's also a reflection of art as well. It's kind of like on the higher level of a hierarchy or some kind of structure, and it's easy to kind of overlook or dismiss it or not pay as much attention on it because it's not as much of a physical need, or it's not as much as a demand, or it's not as dense and palpable and scientifically proven and whatnot, and weight and measured and calculated. But it's something that can be sensed and interpreted. And I think when we're looking at art, this is why music is so compelling, because it deals with sound. It's just pure sound, and that's organized in a very specific way. But what is it specifically about music that's so compelling and that drives so many individuals to be inspired or just motivated? And what is it about music that influences our emotions and our moods? So, like, people could put on a particular type of music on it and feel a certain way. If they're feeling down, they could put something a little bit more upbeat, and that affects the way that person feels. And to take it one step further, they could even, associate with the music and dance. They could put movements and put some kind of interpretive meaning into those movements and have that expression of emotion go outwards. And an alleviation of this built up energy, this built up tension inside of ourselves. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're so compelled to dance. Me as an individual, anyways. And just in the realm of music and dance, it's a very beautiful thing, because it echoes, because the idea of dancing to music actually echoes the structure of music in itself. If you look at at an orchestra, there's a conductor, and then you have the orchestra ensemble that's kind of broken down into like the woodwinds and the brass and percussions and the strings, and then each of those sections are kind of broken down into smaller sections. But everyone has their own part and their own individual contributions, and you have the conductor that's kind of leading the whole thing, but it all kind of comes together, and everyone's, they have the sheet music in front of them that has the timing signatures and all of the sequences all laid out and everything, and it all comes together beautifully. And it's not one particular section or one particular instrument, but it's the blend of everything combined together that makes the whole thing work really well, and it's all harmonious and it's all synchronized, and it just creates an overall beautiful effect. And I feel dance is the same way. It's not just the music and it's not just the bodies and the movement, but it's the combination of both. And I think the experience of being in a room where you have 10, 15, 20 human bodies all synchronized and harmoniously connected to the music, but at the same time individually expressing themselves in their own unique way. And it's just an orchestra in itself, or it's just something amazing and beautiful. And it's something that's more connected, going back to this metaphysical elements, the sound, light, and thought. And it's an interesting thing because the whole practice of meditation is to you know empty the mind and be thoughtless. And then it's almost like a futile endeavor, because if you've ever tried sitting down and meditating, you'll obviously observe that it's almost impossible, that you'll be thinking about not thinking, which is thinking. So it just this weird paradox, and that's kind of happening there. um, However, it just when there's a dance going on, sound is obvious and the light is obvious. The light is what's being seen, seeing human bodies reacting to the music, and just the two can together, it makes it very interesting, the reaction internally. But the thought is also a very interesting thing. Is like what thoughts come up when the sound of the music and the sight of the movement is put together, and what kind of thoughts come up. And it's very interesting because for me personally, it's I almost feel like I enter like a dreamlike state where it's just my mind kind of takes its own thing. It's not the same kind of like my mind taking over in terms of like the chattering kind of thing. It's hard to explain. It's more of a thing that has to be felt and experienced. But it's more so when I'm in a dream, and it's kind of like it's more of an environmental communication thought form. I know that probably doesn't make much sense and it's not very helpful, which is why I think you should check out a conscious dance class. And there's plenty to choose from. There's going to be having one um, on Sunday at 10:30, and check it out. And there'll be another one on Tuesday, the 30th. So I'll post another episode next week, put more information about that. But yeah, that's what I got for this week. And thanks for tuning in. And inshallah, I'll see you on the dance floor. Or not.